Officers Association spring meeting was called to order by President Tom Dahl on Tuesday, March 29, 2022 at 1:33 p.m. in the courtroom of the courthouse. 24 members and guests attended the meeting. The Secretary, Jeff Stockler, read the minutes from the 2019 meeting. Scott Saxberg moved to accept the Secretary's report as read and handed out. Norman Tafelmeyer seconded the motion. Motion passed. The Treasurer's report was given by Jeff Stockler since there is no Treasurer. The January 1, 2021 balance was $1,615.18. And the ending balance for January 1, 2022 was $3,220.41. Scott Saxberg moved to accept the Treasurer's report and seconded by Randy Tafelmeyer. The motion passed. Wayne Oyn presented the Griggs County Highway Department update. Wayne said the roads came through very well despite the winter weather. There is one culvert that has caved in. There will be 21.7 miles of county roads that will be chipped and sealed with a fog coat. Roads that will be chipped and sealed and fogged include County Road 26 from 1 mile west of Hannaford east to County Road 19, County Road 8 west of Highway 1 to the county line minus grade rises that are gravel. County Road 2 from Highway 1 to half mile west to Red Willow Lake Resort, and County Road 2 from Highway 32 west 6 miles to the pavement. We'll lay gravel on County Roads 10 and 12. Have put some gravel piles up around the county and expect gravel prices to increase. Culverts will go in on County Road 19 and County Road 2. Wayne recommended the townships blade the roads as much as possible to keep vegetation down along the sides of the road. Still have the same crew and they work well together. Load limits went on last week and the state put up their signs the next day. The oil is still being produced, so the Prairie Dog bill will provide some money down the road. The county has a reclaimer that can be used by townships. The cost is $100 per hour, which includes the tractor. Wayne does not have the staff to spray roadsides. Appreciated that some townships use the snowplow during the winter. Scott Saxberg thanked Wayne for the good work. The Griggs County Commissioners, Mark Yearness, Scott Tranby, and Stephanie Adlin presented the Commissioner's report. Mark Yearness said his sheriff's vehicle was purchased and equipped since the 2019 Griggs County Township Officers Association meeting, and a new vehicle has been ordered with an arrival date that is unknown. There will be 2 referendums on the ballot. One is to combine the Auditor and Treasurer's office into one. There are 17 counties in the state that have combined these offices. The second referendum is to continue the current mills for the road department. Mark Yearness's term is up this year and he will not be running, and encouraged others to run for the commission. Mark said that the road department, sheriff's office, and the county employees are doing a good job. Question asked if a new bridge could be put in a particular road. A new bridge would cost $1.2 to $1.3 million to install, and there is an 80-20% split in doing that. So it is unlikely the bridge will be replaced. Question was asked why the commission has asked to combine the Auditor and Treasurer's office, and Mark said it was to save money. It was asked if old bridges could be removed. There was someone that was supposed to remove them, but they did not get removed. Scott Tranby stated that the state took over control of money for social services. The state created zones, and Griggs and Nelson counties are a zone. 60% of money goes to Nelson County and 40% goes to Griggs County. The state takes care of the salary cost, but the county must provide indirect funds for social services such as paper and other items. The Social Services Director, Mary Langley, served for 2 years and resigned. Counties have just hired a new director from Lakota that will start on May the 1st, 2022. The Social Services Zone Board was made up of 2 commissioners from each county, but now there will be 1 commissioner and 1 at-large position. The commissioners appointed Mark Lundy to the at-large position. Stephanie Edlin recently received a message from a citizen about township assessors and why counties are not assessing timely. There is a shortage of assessors. With Red Willow and Rosendahl townships are the biggest townships that have the greatest change in assessors. Let commissioners know what they can do to help assess properties because it affects the sales ratio. A current comment was made that if the commission could hire a tax director, that would help the county. Stephanie was unsure why no one is applying for the tax director's job. If Bayer would be the assessor of all townships, then all would be good. Amberly Michaelis gave the sheriff's report. Amberly stated that drug activity is up drastically. It has always been a problem, but it is much greater now. The sheriff's department is understaffed, so Amberly asked the township trustees to watch for strange vehicles in their townships and to call the sheriff's office. With the high price of scrap metal and copper, thefts have been occurring on farms. Talk to people about putting up trail cameras. All the sheriff's department needs is a license plate number and they can track these people down. Need more eyes to watch. Please be patient about non-emergency calls. The sheriff's office is trying to do their best to get to them as soon as possible. Tim Geiner and Larry Severson was present from the North Dakota Township Officers Association. Larry's Severson made most of the comments. There is a new update to the Township Officers book. Be sure to pick one up today. The next to the last page of the update lists all of the changes made since the last edition. During one of the workshop tours in February, a recording was made and a link is available on the NDTOA website. Click the button on the lower left side of the home page to view the recording. Also on the website is a presentation on forms, budgets, and levies put together by Linda Shabahak. NDTOA plans to continue making presentations available, especially one for township clerks. The videos are also available on YouTube. Search for NDTOA to reach their channel for the videos. Township trustees may have noticed some added money in their township accounts over the last year. NDTOA have been successful in securing some more state money for townships through a couple of bills. House Bill 1015, Section 4 on August 2021 provided a $6,127.45 lump sum of money in addition to 214.11 mile per mile of roads. House Bill 1505, Section 7 on January 22nd provided a lump sum of $5,208.33 and 181.99 cents per mile of roads. House Bill 1066 from the 2019 session called Operation Prairie Dog could be up to $9,400 in July of 2023. Another House Bill 1015, Section 13, provides grants administered by the North Dakota Department of Transportation. A grant website is scheduled to be operational on April 4th, 2022. The deadline for the grant application is May 31, 2022. Townships with email addresses on file will get almost instant notice of when the system will be functional. Those that do not have emails will have to wait for printed notice. Townships need to have an email contact so information can get to the townships quickly. There is one grant writer on staff at UGPTI who is in charge with sorting the applications out for this program. He will not be able to handle written applications from 1,200 townships within this time frame. The application process will be primarily online, as those entries go directly into the system for review. There will be a limited opportunity for applications to be received by phone or mail, but if more than a few are received this way, it will be a slow process. Tim passed out a sheet of paper listing the types of projects that can be requested for this grant. There are many types of projects listed, basically projects of greater importance that will improve connectivity for a large part of one or more townships will be given priority. The priority will be based upon impact for one of the major industries of energy, defense, agriculture, etc. Larry suggested getting the facts and figures together now so the township is ready to apply right away. The goal is not to make it difficult for townships to get these funds, but to direct the funds to the goals the legislature has intended. It is hoped that all the funds will be allocated and that they go to the 2023 session with the fund empty and ask for more. Larry asked the people to put more work into this grant preparation and apply. Nationally, NATAT is in discussions with the White House with the goal of broadening the definition of bridges to include some of the minor structures, which are bridges or box culverts under 20 feet in length. NDTOA and other member states are providing examples of the importance of the minor structures. Broadening the definition will allow federal funds to be used on these smaller structures. The NDTOA convention will be held December 12th and 13th, 2022 at the Baymont in Mandan. Be a good idea to send at least one person from the township to the convention. Tom Dahl mentioned the Red River water supply project for townships that have the Garrison diversion going through them will be pretty rough. The project is removing about 350 semi-loads per half mile. The township and county roads will take a beating. Those of you that have not signed an easement, the eminent domain process has begun. Taking a person to eminent domain limits the project's rights, so in the future it will likely limit this to a one pipeline project. They are taking 150-foot easement for a pipeline. It will involve 4 townships. If the roads are in good condition, then the project will have to return them to that status. But if a road is poor, then they will likely leave it poor. Tom takes too many calls about road conditions. There are quite a few townships that are sitting on a good amount of money. It is not the purpose of the township to have a large sum of money with roads that are in poor condition. Tom is sick of calls about roads that should be maintained. Blading roads is important. In the end, not blading roads causes weeds along the side of the road and big weed roads. Kurt Tompkins called Pete and want to close the ditch that is going out of Jesse. Not sure what townships and landowners need to do to try to stop this. They're considering moving the easement.
I'll be down there in a few minutes.
Tom Dahl asked if there was anyone interested in being the treasurer for the GCTOA. He asked for nominations. When Gene Logie retired, Tom tried to get Lori Stucca to take the position, but she told Jeff Stockler she was not interested. Mark Bierman suggested that Tom Dahl appoint someone as treasurer. Tom has asked several people to be treasurer, but none have agreed. The treasurer's job is not hard and it does not require much time. Tom will get a list of secretary and treasurers and see who would like to become the treasurer of the GCTOA. Scott Saxberg moved to pay the NDTOA dues of $2,500. Eddie Biggs seconded the motion. The motion passed. Tom Bailey asked what the township dues are, and Jeff Stocker said the dues were $152. Tom Bailey moved to pay for the ad in the newspaper about the township meetings, which cost $155.82. Scott Tranby seconded the motion and passed. Tom Dahl asked if the townships of Naval, Helena, Ball Hill, and Spearmint would be affected by the Red River water supply. Most of it is south of County Road 22. There will be a 10-year construction process and cost $122 billion. They are acquiring the easement of $4 million. 350 loads of soil being removed is for the pipeline that is 72 inches and putting gravel below and to the sides and filling it back in. Mark Bierman, Scott Tranby, and Tom are on the museum board, and they are wanting to take pictures of old barns and unique buildings before they are torn down. Contact Mark Bierman or Scott Tranby to have these pictures taken. Tom Dahl said that McCardles will be taking down a granary south of his home. Scott Tranby moved to adjourn the meeting. Scott Saxberg seconded the motion. The motion passed. The meeting ended at 2:33 p.m. Minutes respectfully submitted by Jeff Stocker.
Any additions or corrections?
Yeah, there's no Randy Tappelmeyer.
Wait, John.
Should read Randy Ressler, right? Otherwise, he'd be my brother.
Okay.
Third paragraph, front page.
Duly noted.
There's a stamp, jump around now. Any other additions or corrections? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the secretary minutes.
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Discussion? With none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Treasurer's report,
Treasurer's report, you can see that in front of you. We have a beginning balance on January 1st, 2022 of $3,220.41. Deposits for dues and the cost of the ad came in on those dates mentioned for a total of $3,040. Expenses was just for the North Dakota Township officers. I don't know why there's no check for the cost of the newspaper ad. I'll have to look into that, but we at least paid the $2,500, leaving a balance on hand of $3,760.41. You can see below the list of the 20 townships for dues for 2023. I thank Willow Township for catching up for the last 2 years. And those of you marked in red, we still need your money yet of $152. So get those in, please.
are there any questions to the treasurer's report? have a second?
A second.
Names?
Me and
Neil? Neil?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. With that, we'll move on to the road department, Wayne. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. You sure that I said all that last year?
I think so. That's what I recorded.
All right. Well, this year it's gonna be not as long. If you guys have been battling snow, we've been battling snow. And, done as good as we can. Well, this morning I got a call from Binford and, got a hydraulics leak coming out from underneath this belly fan. So he is out of commission. RDO can't get out here till tomorrow to work on it, so it's gonna delay opening up some of the roads. Some of them can be opened with a truck. If you wish to do that, we could probably give you a real good price. Come back and wing it after it's opened up. Another thing, it was about a year ago, just about a year ago, that we had a disaster, snow disaster, April 22nd. We're still working on trying to get a lot of those problems resolved. I just got an email yesterday warning about this particular site. Was a culvert put in because it was statutory, or is it the code put in, and they have to see pictures of the whole culvert. If it's rusted out, it's just supposed to be done with regular maintenance. I've been very particular this year for 2022. So if in the event we get a fast thaw and we get running water and running over roads, take pictures. If you want pictures, if there's no picture, they'll not give you a site. And you guys all know GPS coordinates are used at the beginning and the end of the washout on top of a culvert that is collapsed. But if it's rusted out, they won't participate. So we haven't gotten any money for any of them yet, except last week we got a check for the county damages, because we had all that work done by the time we got out here. We had all the work done, turned it in as work completed. Still waiting on, I think it's 8 townships. So, Andy Dewald and I have been working together. She's been a good help as far as sending in information from the emergency manager's office. But that is about it. Just remember to take pictures, give them a site number. And if it's rusted out, I would even put it in. Because this year, which a lot of years, is pictures taken that show the good part of the culvert, but sure rusted out part. So you want to know where the old culvert is, so I've had to give GPS coordinates of where the culvert's or dumped if they went to salvage or if they're still there. It's quite a task. So I think you guys, I know you guys received some prairie dog funds. Wasn't much, it's not enough. $9,160, whatever it is. But I see that the Township Association have really been working to try to get you guys more money through the legislature. I don't know how successful we've been, but maybe important to do. If we are going to get that bridge in that we talked about, because federal came out with 100% cost to cover the off-system bridges.
What bridge is that?
2006.
Oh, okay.
So before it was 80/20, we're still going to have to do some costs, like right away, and if we have to build up an approach to the bridge. That will not be done until 2024. Box culverts, I've seen there's grants available for townships possibly to replace culverts with box culverts. But they've had such a demand for them because of all the money. Now there isn't box culverts. Or box, or bridge, and a box culvert. So, if anybody's interested in that, you could talk to me and try to get something going, started, or see if we can get a bridge to replace, or a box culvert to replace the bridge. I know some of those old wooden ones that have been there for years, gonna have to have an end of time. 2 of them. There isn't too many of those, but maybe nobody could hear me. Am I speaking up enough? Okay. So, anybody has any questions for me?
So that County 6 road, is that gonna be started in 2024 or finished in 2024?
They will both be started and finished before that. There's a lot of preliminary stuff before after we can start. We do hire an engineer firm to do the preliminary and design engineering. The state has said they're likely to be looking into some possible alternates to a big cement bridge, if there's possible to do that. That's a pretty long span, 100 feet, I think, or 110 feet long. So I don't know how that would be, but it could be made out of steel or galvanized metal. They do that now.
Well, as long as it's not a rope bridge.
Yeah. Yeah. You got that, now you can walk across, but you can't drive. So, anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Wayne.
County Commission update?
Got half an hour.
Pretty short list. So Wayne, as Wayne said, we're busy with the trying to move snow between breakdowns and blizzards, and just gonna bear with us and they'll get at it. Sheriff's Department's been also busy cleaning a few things up that's not snow, but they've been working hard as far as some of the problems we've been having in Biggs County with people coming in and selling drugs and things like that. So that's been an ongoing effort. I think Bob will probably talk to you about that. The bridge, of course, is been tentatively, the federal government has agreed to it. So right now it's $1 million. I don't know where the bids are going to come in. Everything has went high. So we'll be working on that, but I think there's some contingency if the bids come in high to receive more money. That was a blessing. You know, if we're going to spend $1.5 million at 20%, that'd take a lot of money out of the county coffers. That's about the only funding issue. We received notice that we got the prairie dog funds correctly, and that was
Yes.
$946.
23,000, I think, 900.
Yeah. So that was the monies that they started 2 years ago, putting into different categories from the state oil money, the taxes that come in. And they allocated that out to the state first, and then on down the line, that was the same money that townships got, the $9,000. That was for 2 years, so we'll see. There's nothing in stone about that. We'll try to keep start filling the buckets up again to distribute them. But that was slated for most of the infrastructure, I believe. So the road department will receive most of that. That's really about it. The budget this year is going to be challenging because of the increase in costs. Everything that we do, labor, fuel, everything has went up. So we'll try to scrape together outside funds, state, federal, anywhere we can find it. And the last resort, of course, is going to the taxpayer. The more money we can bring in, the more money it will offset what we have to levy. I personally believe that money left in the taxpayers' hands is far better than money in government hands. We have to take care of the basics, but after that, I think the townships and the individuals do a better job of managing it at a local level. The tax director's position is still open. The assessor's problem is still present. It's as a result of the boom out west. The legislature put in a bunch of rules and regulations for the assessors because the land was increasing so fast and the assessors weren't qualified. And so those same provisions to take care of the assessors out west got passed down here. So we had assessors that could do the job, but then weren't qualified via the testing to do it. So we had a bunch of people just walk away. The tax director is the same position. It requires now a whole bunch of schooling in order to do the position. And the people that are in have done that and are keeping up are hired away for the big vendors. The legislature is looking at making a different classification for these small counties so that we don't have that huge expense, of trying to find somebody, if we can find them, retaining them. So that's just going to go. We'll have to live along until that gets resolved. But that is a big look at. Other than that, I think everything's running pretty smoothly. I think Bob will give me an update on the sheriff's department. I think the vehicles are fairly new now. I think there's one slated for next year again, I believe. I think we're up to the staffing levels in the sheriff's department that we were prior, and to maintain that, we'll have to talk with you about that. Any questions? Very good. Hopefully spring comes and we can go on to the next year or few months.
Thank you, John.
Yep.
Not very much. Good afternoon. I guess a lot of familiar faces. I didn't think I'd be in this position again. I had said never, and I'm here, and I've tried that with the lottery. It doesn't work. So. Changes in the office. It's basically the same operation. Sheriff, I hired a deputy I'd worked with for 20-some years. He grew up in the Carrington area. He's a farmer. He was a farmer growing up. He'd kind of retired early from law enforcement, went to work in the oil fields. He's now back working for us. Very good asset for the county. You'll see him out in the rural areas of the county continuously. That's That's his world, that's his life. He worked in Barnes County for several years. Great deputy, common sense. He'll fit in well. Deputy Dalton's still here. I had about a 2-hour conversation yesterday with Shane Johnson. He's over the desert. He's anxious to see the green grass mowing when it sounded, so I'm looking forward to getting him back here and see how things are going to unfold. Right now, it's kind of an open-ended question what the future looks like. As far as things going on in the sheriff's office, obviously we've got a drug issue, and it's a lot of times it's hyped up a little higher than it is, but it is there, and we work on that constantly. We have some restraints on that. There's people and outside help to come in with that. We're working on that. Johnny Ray, we got one vehicle replaced this year, that Dodge pickup that the sheriff drives. Not to knock farmers, but right now the driver's seat looks like a farm truck. You can see the springs, so we're gonna look at replacing that, some things in that, but we'll get by till budget season on that one. We'll work through that. Made myself a couple notes. I'm getting older. I put an article in the paper when I first came back. It was a question and answer thing with the newspaper. The sheriff's office is absolutely non-functioning unless we have the help of the citizens of the county. Like I said in that article, 100 sets of eyes are better than 2 sets of eyes. With 3 people, we can't be everywhere. We can't see everything. And you guys live in the country. You know what's going on here. Our young people don't use the country like they used to. Parties, whatever, voting parties. So if you see people out there late at night, they're probably out there for a bad reason. Either they're driving from point A to point B, which would be home, or they're doing something they shouldn't be. And if you guys don't call, or your neighbors call, or encourage whoever to call, we don't know what's going on. So just call. You're not going to be held in court. You're not going to have to come in as a witness or something major. But if we don't get an anonymous phone call or some kind of phone call from you, we just don't know what's going on. And we spend all the time we can in the country. Now this winter, that's been a little tough. It's tough to even go on emergency calls. You don't know what you're going to face when you get outside of town. The roads and the wind and everything. So I can't say that enough. If you know where you live, you know your neighborhood, you know where your neighbors are gone, you know all that. If something looks out of place, just make the call and we'll check it out. That's what we're here. And Brian, myself, we both like the countryside. I like meeting with people on the road, chatting about things. Brian's all about that too. He'll probably pull in your yard and say hi. He's that kind of guy. And he comes from farm background, so he knows what you're going through. He gets it. They struggled through the 80s like everybody else did, so he gets it. The other thing that to talk about frequently too is farm accidents. This spring, we don't know what's going to lie ahead for us. Wayne and I chat a little bit about it. Mother Nature could be beautiful to us, or it could be really bad. We don't know what's going to happen. A fast thaw is going to be devastating this year for a lot of people. A lot of roads, a lot of property. Farther west you go, the worse it is. So once we get in that thaw cycle, if you're driving home and you see something that could potentially cause a problem overnight, make a phone call to the sheriff's office. We answer the phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of the year, no matter if it's Christmas or Easter. Just make a call so we can pass that on. Because what could be a trickle now and it's kind of flood down a culvert, by morning could be a devastating road washout, so I'm not driving into that. So just let us know those things, because this summer could be a doozy, this spring could be a rough one. We don't know yet, hopefully it's not. But, so if you got a higher power you might want to start for along here. Let's see. I guess just, in the last, since I retired, law enforcement took a real kick in the ass for a lot of reasons that have nothing to do with us. So, and I'm not looking for praise or nothing, but, and everyone in Grace County has been very good about this. Support your local law enforcement, and don't be afraid to ask them for help, because they appreciate that too. Probably more so than telling one of my deputies they're doing a great job. Get involved in what's going on in the county. That's probably better than an accolade. That shows that you're interested, you want to help, and your guys can offer help more so than we could come up with on our own. So, like I said, as far as the future goes, it's not written yet. We don't know what's going to happen here with my office and what's going to take place. And there'll be a conversation with myself and the commission, and we'll see where this is all going to end up. But for now, we're gonna do the best we can with what we got, and we'll be there when the phone rings, so. Any questions about anything? Okay. Thanks.
So Travis is a little bit over base, so Jeff has some.
Okay, so Travis Palm, who works for DNA Mobility and is the computer specialist for the county, I'll just read what he says here. He wanted to speak about the importance of everyone ensuring they are maintaining a secure network. Personal email, personal computers, IoT devices being secured. IoT means Internet of Things. He has a flyer here if you want to see it, that they use in the federal government. One of the items we have been seeing is farmers and ranches using IoT devices, Internet of Other Things, to monitor and manage their operations. These are wonderful tools that help, but we need to keep security at the forefront with these. Many of the tools do not deploy proper security protocols. This opens up individuals to attack. When the devices are installed and allowed to be accessed remotely, they can pose a security risk. Passwords, no or bad encryption allow for attackers to gain access to the device or network. His company has developed some tools to help individuals deploy these IoT devices securely, even if the device itself does not meet today's standards. So, it talks about ransomware, and there's some QR codes here on this one page about reporting stuff. Basically, if you have one of these fancy grain dryer systems that you can access remotely, you're at risk of being hacked. So you need to take that into account and do what's necessary to provide proper security. So, one of the things that we've been told in extension, we had to change all of our passwords. I think now? They should be over 15 characters, I think now. And you should have letters, numbers, exclamation points, those type of symbols in there. It shouldn't be words. It should be random numbers and letters and that. So they say that once you get to 15 characters, it's pretty hard to crack. But if you're less than that, can't remember the one slide I saw, but I think if you have like an 8-letter password, you can be hacked in hours. So take into account your password.
Thanks, Jeff. That will move on to the water board report. So our U.S. Fish and Wildlife agent Kurt Tompkins and Paul Helko have come up with a settlement elevation on Jesse. So we're kind of sitting with pretty close to where that needs to be. There needs to be some clean out downstream, but at least they are allowing the ditch to be open and stay open permanently. About where it's at. There's a couple dents here and there. There's some work that needs to be done. Some cleaning that has to be done below Bob Brooks's road, and I am not familiar with the number, but he claims that the culverts aren't deep enough. I think it just needs to be cleaned out. There's probably 10 feet of drop within 3/4 of a mile, so it isn't anything. It goes through what Dan, you farmed there on
John Miller's.
John Miller's, and then Cradle Camp maybe?
And
then Joe Bird's.
Yeah, and then into Joe Bird.
And other than that, you know, we're still ongoing battle with Nelson, we're dumping water into Pickerel, that's just a problem. And now, on Wednesday, we've got a meeting with Foster County, they're determined to start some legal drains out of Foster into Greg's. And we're gonna try to use the 200, south side of 200 corridor to bring it to the Bald Hill Creek. It goes all the way back to you, Bob. I mean, you know, until, that's the start of the problem. I mean, after that, we've got bridge culverts, but it'll be addressed. I was just wondering how you were coming with it, you know.
Be a good test
Right.
next month.
It would be a lot nicer if that was a county road. But I think that can be fixed if you could use the culverts that are there, if it was built up, you know, just a dike. So that they were kept, so they were used fully. I mean, large culverts are running half full or less probably.
So they're talking a lot of water coming down then from Foster?
So we have a 24-inch culvert on a county line and they wanted to put 2 36s in on one drain. But they're talking another drain, they're trying to bring water down 3rd Street. And it'll all have to, it'll start on your deal. I mean, that'll be the start of the fix. But it'll be a fairly large project. And the problem is we're importers of water. We've got the river and the Bald Hill Creek, and they can't get to the Jim River, so it's coming this way. But the drains that are in place now will not handle the water, so they have to construct a new, using Highway 200, and they've still got to be talked to, but using the 200 dips would allow, it would give the farmers over in that area some relief, rather than more water, just be another outlet to the creek. And other than that, TBO4 is in place, finally completed. There's some touch-up work to do on that, but other than that, we're just taking one problem at a time as it presented. Things are fairly quiet now. I'm sure this Foster County deal will get things fired up again. But if it went through, Tim, you would get some relief, or Mark would, you know, it would go a different direction. So I think it's all good. The problem we have there again is U.S. Fish and Wildlife through Gary Ramsey's and Doug Johnson. So they just absolutely. I mean, they've been working with us, but just about impossible to work with. But that's all I have there. Any questions for the water board? We have meetings now and there's nobody there. You know, it's got really quiet.
Does the water board have any money?
No.
I know we put some culverts in there, we're supposed to get some reimbursement.
On the Cooper Tyro drain? Yeah. I think, Dan, did you pay for one? Yeah. The water board doesn't have any money, but that assessment drain does. So. Anything else? That drain has worked out pretty good too, cleaned up. It's really close. It'll be a test this spring, like everything else. But that's all I have. With that, Al Backrus didn't make it, so Jeff has some comments there.
All right, Al couldn't make it, Lee Brandvold Township Officers Association sent me some information. I found out from them that this particular meeting doesn't require public notice. I thought it did. I thought that was part of what you guys pay when you get to the ad. But you just have to publicly notice 2 weeks in advance for your own township meetings, which this organization pays those ads. So we can save a few dollars next year if we don't want to advertise for this meeting. If we want to, then we can. Nothing says that we can't, but we're not forced to. There's no code that says you have to provide public knowledge or notice of this particular meeting. Let's see what's here. Items to announce. An assistant lobbyist was hired for the 2023 legislative session. Mr. Scott Meskey is assisting Larry Severson in this year's legislative session. If you have questions, the contact information for both Larry and Scott can be found on the website, the North Dakota Township Officers Association website. There is also a direct link to the legislative session on the homepage of the North Dakota Township Officers Association. The association is also on Facebook, so check out the weekly legislative updates that they're putting on that Facebook page. If you are not currently receiving the North Dakota Township Officers Association updates, including weekly legislative updates, and you would like to be included, you will need to submit your email address to Larry Severson via email at larry.ndtoa@gmail.com. And one of the reasons that I asked for you to check in with your email, and please provide that if you didn't, is the office here, the auditor's office, has no record of anyone's emails. So we have to send stuff out through snail mail. So make sure that you do that so we can keep things abreast ahead of time and easier. Something to be aware of, a new North Dakota Township Officers Association website is being designed and will be launched after the 2023 legislative session. The new website will be easier to use and will be mobile friendly now. The 2023 annual meeting will be held in Bismarck this year. Be sure to watch the grassroots report for registration information this fall for the December meeting. So start thinking about the December meeting. Township Transportation's Funding Program, TTFP update. Federal grant money is still being applied for to match the state money that was approved in House Bill 1015 of the 2021 legislative session. To date, around 2,500 applications have been sent in, totaling over $200 million in projects. Legislators will need to pass House Bill 1012 this session for the grant money to remain available to townships. If you have not applied for a grant, you are still able to apply. Grant application information is available on the North Dakota Township Officers Association website. The annual Township Ledger Report, ATLR, if you use this program and are unable to get county support, you can contact Julie Brandvold or Tim Geinert for help. Let's see what's here. That was what Lee sent. He also sent information on current bills that are being considered in this legislative session, and it was brought to my attention that they would strongly encourage, let me make sure, They strongly encourage you to reach out to Don Vigasaw, who is our local representative and chair of the Finance Committee, to let him know your support of the Bill 2329, which it would be a third source of income for townships, which could give you $300 to $350 per road mile. So if you think that's important for your township, please get a hold of Don Vigasaw and let him know. 2329 in this list of bills here, you're welcome to look at it later, is a 12.5% motor vehicle excise tax that will go to township. Amendment, all townships now included in 12.5%, next 12.5% now goes to counties. And the Senate has passed it already, so we're waiting for the House to do something on that particular bill. But, you know, things are happening, and that's why we couldn't get anyone here today. They're busy in Bismarck supporting folks in things. So if you want to see this list of things that they're supporting and not supporting or needing to watch for, you're welcome to take a look at that as well. So I don't think there's anything else that I had in regards to that.
Thank you, Judge. With that, the introduction of our treasurer, I have none. I don't know if anybody can ask their secretary treasurers if they would like to do the job for the association. All I get is no, no, no. Do we have any secretary treasurers here on the conference?
Extension would prefer me to get out of the money business for organizations, so I'd love to pass that on to somebody else instead of our office dealing with that.
So I guess I would just ask if you guys could ask your treasurers if they would help out with the Township Officers Association. Try to find someone. With that, motion to pay the North Dakota Township Officer dues of $125 township. I entertain a motion.
Nice.
Greg.
Second.
We have a motion by Greg. Do we have a second? Norman? Motion and a second to pay the $2,500 for township officers dues. Any discussion? Discussion? With no discussion, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. A motion to pay the newspaper ad for the township meeting is $297.96.
Make a motion to pay.
Yeah. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Rob? Motion to second to pay for the newspaper ad. Any discussion? Discussion? With none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Discussion on regarding 2024 dues. Jeff, I'm gonna let you take that one.
Okay, so, you can see that you currently have a balance of $3,760.41 as of January 1st. Once all the dues are in, we're really collecting more than we need to. The newspaper ad is a little less than it used to be. I don't know, Tom and I have talked, I don't know why the treasurership needs to be having this much money in it. We don't really do anything other than pay for ads and pay for dues. Unless you guys think or can some other use for the money. So, you know, if you want to dispense of something for next year, you know, a portion of the dues or the ad, obviously you have to pay for the ad, but you don't have to be assessed that. The organization will pay that, but maybe you don't assess you guys that much money.
It's almost like we're a year ahead.
I think the North Dakota Association is thinking of increasing the dues because they're utilizing more money coming up. So I think let's hold it till where it's at right now and see what happens.
And I think continuing to advertise for this meeting is a good idea. Otherwise, you would only get half of us or less.
Right. I think it should be advertised. Just
But we can also advertise by having everybody's email address too.
Oh, look at that.
Huh? You don't look at that. What about your text messages?
Wow, a little more there, yeah.
Okay. We can do it that way too.
question or comments? Anybody have anything else? Yes?
Going back to the water board, that Alvik Slough that we have in Tyrol, and there's that drain with that gate.
Yeah.
Is the water board still shutting that down in the fall or keeping it open year round?
I don't even think the gate is there. I've looked at it. I think it's open. You're talking the one with the wheel on top?
Yeah, the guard.
Kitty corner from,
Yeah, it's got a padlock. Norman Dahl used to close it in the fall, and that was part of the agreement we made with Elwood Ellison.
no, we've got everything opened up there pretty good. I think it just let it run. You know, once we got that clean through your dam, that's a big deal. That's working. The culvert that got put in by Randy Biggsaw's had it sat on a rock or something, it had a 1-foot bowl in it. That drain is, I just let her go. And now there's a 30-inch culvert put in by the schoolhouse road. Put a flare on it, just let her.
Well, this spring would be the test.
I think there's a culvert that needs to be put in, maybe Randy used them on the Township road. It would be further south of that structure. Water was running over the road, but maybe the ditch needs to be cleaned out going into the Sutton Slough. I know when the helicopter sprayed that a few years ago, they missed the ditch completely. You know, they had no idea. before the spray, but
That was so filled up with cattails and stuff that it wasn't getting away like it should. So,
and some of that got cleaned back towards the railroad tracks. It was unalways. So that drain is coming along pretty good. It's so wet, it's a process. No event there. But I think the way that's set up now, the culvert coming out of the southern slough could actually probably be a little bigger if it ever rusts out and gets replaced. Because the water runs for 3 months, runs a long time. Anything else? Les, you must have a question.
Yeah, where's Wayne?
While you're looking at Wayne.
You know, Tom, the Foster County water, would you consider that to be old water, or is it really some deep stuff that is questionable, or what? Is it legitimate?
They've dumped so much water on Greg's County already now, it's to find them an outlet. I mean, Tim, you would probably know more, but there's old water coming there. So, all kinds of new shiny culverts in Foster County coming towards Greg's County with no regard to anybody downstream. Just none. But we won't let them put their 236s in the county line road. So then Larry Erickson sits with quite a bit of water in one particular place, but that Augie Wallen water, that was deep. That was, I mean, you can't blame them, but when it hurts the people downstream, we gotta fix that first. I mean, through Tennyson's is a mess. And that would be the 3rd Street drain. If we could get, you know, it's almost like Foster County and the farmers are broke, or it costs money to move water. It just does. But they feel that if a drain comes through Greg's County, we should help pay for it. You know, it just doesn't make much sense. Because all the water in Greg's County, for the most part, is gone, right, Tim? I mean, that has a place to go. But new water, there's no room for it. There's just none. If we could get them to build a drain along the 200 corridor, bring their 3rd Street water south, so there'd be 2 watersheds that would be going down instead of sending. So, what's Jim's grandpa's name? Is it Alfred? He jumped a watershed that sends water into Tim and Mark's yard there. But it was done 80 years ago. But they jumped a watershed because it was easier. But when they jump that watershed, they're sending all the water the wrong way, and it's causing a lot of problems for Mark, Tim Weber, and then that water, we're trying to push it through Doug Johnson and Gary Ramsey's, and Gary has an irrigator in there. It's just a problem. And they want to send 3-4 times the water. I mean, they want 236s put in instead of 24. But that's just one of the water. There's 2 more. I mean, they want to fix all 3 of them. And I'd like to see them combine as much as they can into Highway 200 and give them a drain. And it wouldn't affect our local farmers so much. They would, but it probably would come with a price tag of $8 million. I mean, they're looking to drain a big chunk of ground. But if it's a legal drain, trying to send it through the old way doesn't work. on some of the old way, it almost needs a bypass by David Stucco's. I mean, it's just, there's some real issues in there. But there again, you know, not to kick Ben Martinson under the bus, but Ben hasn't been very good to Griggs County. They opened up Four Corners, they opened up everything in Nelson County and sent it down Pickerel. Pickerel will handle, there's two culverts that run in across County Road 10. And are they 2 5s or 6s, Wayne?
I think there's 6 of them.
6s. I did a hydrology study there, they moved 1,100 CFS running full. Well, the Cheyenne River runs about 1,000 CFS in the summer. And they're dumping 1,100 in one drain. They've caused a lot of problems down there for headstroms, and they dumped so much water. The river was full, Pickerel was full, so when their 1,100 CFS was coming in, it had nowhere to go but to break out. It had no trick to follow. It was full. And it broke out and found a new path to the river and just gorged. But there again, the State Water Commission isn't concerned about downstream people. You know, it just doesn't make any sense. The State Water Commission will say that if you hold water back, you can be sued for causing damage holding water back. So if you put culverts in and open it up, there's no concern about downstream whatsoever. And that's what we had this problem with Foster County here when we testified out in Bismarck. Yeah, Doug Zink had showed a map of Larry Erickson's full of water, but he didn't show the map of Mark's yard. He didn't show the map or any pictures of Tim's yard. And Tim Anderson's got, it's a problem. I mean, it just is, flooding out his yard. Tim Weber has a 4-foot dike around his farm too. There's just a lot of problems and they don't care. So it's just not allowing them to do it. It's something else has to. A new drain. We do the best we can. Are you coming to the meeting on Wednesday, Tim? Yeah.
It looks like to me they're just putting in enough culvert. It's gonna take out that 24, and then we are gonna have big roads. I mean, when there's nothing in there to control it, it takes out that road. I mean, it's gonna go everywhere.
Especially this spring. I mean, but they just keep on adding culverts and adding culverts and. But we'll see what happens on Wednesday. Is there anything else? If not, I just need motion for adjournment.
I'll motion for adjournment.
We have a motion, do we have a second?